The Crotchety Old Men Podcast is not a registered investment, legal, or tax advisor or a broker-dealer. All investment financial opinions expressed by or on the Crotchety Old Men Podcast are from the personal research and experience of the owner of the site and are intended as educational material. Although best efforts are made to ensure that all information is accurate and up to date, occasionally unintended errors and misprints may occur. Before you invest or make any investment-based decisions, consider your own personal circumstances. You should do your own research and seek advice from a financial professional.
Well, it's a great day once again with the Crotchety Old Men Podcast. Hi, I'm Gary Smith, your host today, and I'm a retired commercial real estate investor. And joining me in the studio today is my partners in crime, my main man, Paul P.C. Clemens and George Crumley. Gentlemen, how you doing?
All right, I'm doing all right. It's a great day in the neighborhood. It's sunny and bright. It's a little on the warm side, but all is well in my world.
Hey man, anytime we can get together and talk about, finances, talk about, how we can do things a little bit differently, share some information, it could not be a better day. I'm ready to get going. What we talking about today, Smitty?
Hey, well, there's recently been some articles and publications in regards to buying REITs, and specifically those REITs that are acquiring or accumulating the single family houses. And George, in previous episodes, we have shared with our audiences, listeners, about REITs and how advantageous they can be, and certainly the diversification that they offer and stuff. But today we want to explore this REIT in particular that we want to talk about, and things that you want to make certain that you take into consideration before buying or investing, I should say, into a REIT. So, what do you say, George? Let's get it started.
Yeah, I think that's a great subject. I mean, like you said, in the past, we've talked about how REITs are such a great investment, and they still are investment. But it's one of the things that we always talk about is do your research. And I think in this particular situation, it's very important to understand, where the market is going. And I know everybody's a little squeamish about the market right now because we've seen some record lows. But one thing you always want to remember, with the record lows, we also have record highs. So sometimes you have to just wait on it. In this particular case, when you're talking about examining REITs, we've talked in the past, have been a great investment because of the fact that they're going to pay you back in excess of 90% of their profits and dividends. So we still stand behind that. But one of the things that we want to talk about as far as residential REITs, okay, it's important to understand that once a company purchases some residential real estate to put into their REITs, they don't often sell those homes. They basically become an asset of that REIT. And there could be, some things that you really want to look at from a consumer perspective, because if those houses never come back on the market for sale, then that's going to affect the market. And as we all know, there is a shortage right now of residential and affordable housing. So even when they sell those REITs, those houses go along with them. So they may never come back on the market. What they are using them for is rental income. And as we've all seen, rental income is at an all-time high, sometimes 17% increase over last year. So with that in mind, we want to kind of examine a couple of REITs, make sure you understand a different type of REITs, and, just kind of provide some information. What do you think?
I think it's no better time to start than now. Okay. George, you laid it out there pretty well for us in terms of, the opportunities that exist when we talk about REITs. And let's kind of like step back just for a moment for some of our listeners who may have just not tuning in to us, is that REITs, what does that really mean? That's a real estate investment trust, for those of you who may not know that. And what it is as opposed to having just one property in it, it could be probably have hundreds. And what we're talking about here with single family houses, we're talking literally thousands of homes. We're talking about whole communities, ladies and gentlemen, listen to me, whole communities that are being purchased and or developed for the sole purpose of renting them out. And now most of us are aware of the fact that the buying and owning real estate is where most of us, and particularly Black people, that's where your equity is at. That's how we build wealth, in the owning of your own home or owning that real estate. What I'm hearing now, what we're seeing here at the Crotchety Old Men, as we in the source and stuff, where you see where is that developers, but more importantly, these REITs are specifically eyeing, as George said earlier, single family homes. And so not only, so it impacts the market in several ways. Number one, it takes away your ability to build equity, of course, to create wealth. Number two, the values of the properties in your community. Now you really don't have a community. You're a renter. You don't have any ownership in there. You're not even a taxpayer anymore. Okay? So you lose those benefits. And then last but not least is that, of course, the whole benefit of owning real estate, the tax benefits, depreciation, and the valuation, things of that nature. As I said earlier in another conversation with PC, and PC can chime in when you're ready, is this: investing our money into REITs of single family houses. Now, make sure we keep the difference here. We're not talking about all REITs. We're talking about this one specific REIT that has nothing but single family homes in it. Investing your money in something like that is like enabling them to do the same thing to you that you don't want. I mean, enabling you to invest in prisons, and we're not about that. So, PC, what are your
Yeah,
thoughts on
one of the other things that I wanted to add to what you were saying, Gary, is that single REIT homes also impact the renter, and the way that it impacts the renter, because there's an absence of houses on the market, they are shooting the rents way up. I mean, rents are going up 40%. So when you're looking at somebody who's got a rent, let's say of $900 a month, and it goes up 40%, so now they're paying another $400 a month, and then those rents keep going up and up and up every year, every year, every year. There's no telling whether it's going to go back to the 3 to 5% for doing business like they normally were doing back in the day, before this shortage. So kind of what it looks like, there's going to be a bunch of folks without a house or some place to rent. They'll be out on a park bench somewhere.
Yeah, I think that our listeners really need to get a takeaway from this conversation as far as investing and how important it is to do your homework and to really look at the companies that you're purchasing. One of the things that we talked early on about, and this is our basic podcast, when we talk about investing, is buy things that you use on a daily basis. So invest in companies that if you use the AT&T for your sell your company, look at AT&T. I mean, they're paying a dividend right now, I think about 8 or 9%. So these are the kind of habits that we want you to build. We talk about buying index funds, and we've talked about buying REITs. But in all of that, we're not just saying blindly go out here and start buying stuff that you don't know anything about. So it's important, because here again, this is how the rich get richer. I mean, this article that we're reading, it says billionaires with a B, encourage you to buy these REITs. And the REITs they talk about are the residential REITs. Now, from a Black perspective, we don't want to do that because of the fact that we're already pinched, and trying to find affordable housing in all these neighborhoods. So if houses are no longer on the market, they're, like I said, they're forced into a situation to rent. Okay, where we're at their mercy because they can continue to raise our rents, and we've got no alternative. So here again, we've got to make sure it's here again, for us, by us, that we continue to educate ourselves and understand exactly what we're doing. Yeah, we want you to invest, but yeah, we want you to do your homework, just like you would do anything else. And if there's any takeaway from this podcast, it's just that: do your homework, see what you're investing in. Don't just follow the crowd. Just don't get in the line because you going to an event, and all of a sudden you just stand in line because you think this is the line that's going to let you in, and it's really the line to the restroom. So you got to make sure you got your eyes open, your head on a swivel, and you understand what the heck you're doing. This is not a sheep thing. This is not a blind leading the blind. So if anything from the crotchety old men you take away, make sure it's do your homework. Do your homework. What do you think, fellas?
Man, you nailed it, George.
Couldn't have said it better, George. Couldn't have said it better.
Oh, you nailed it.
I like that line analogy.
But it's just so serious, though, you all. The importance of what he just said. All right, particularly we can't be following the herd, and like the topic said, billionaires are doing this. Well, that's how they became billionaires. All right, not caring, giving a crap about the other people. Okay, in most cases, all right, and using these systems and things of that nature. So don't invest against yourself, is what we're saying here. Do your homework, your due diligence. Same thing goes with companies. I mean, there's some companies out here, whether it be T-Mobile, AT&T, they may be paying great dividends. But take a look at those companies, all right? Because whatever money that you're investing in that company, okay? And yeah, it's one thing that company is paying you well, but how well are they doing about, diversity in terms of that nature? I'm seeing that, what are they doing in terms of how many black people they got making decisions other than where they park in the morning, okay? What is about that? Because a lot of our brain drain goes to companies that, like these, all right? Because most children that whether they get a law degree or a finance degree or what have you, okay, they're somewhat forced to go to these companies to get jobs and positions because, number one, we're not job creators. We're job seekers, a thing that we need to change, and we'll talk about that on another podcast. But point I'm trying to do as I wrap this up is this. Since they have to go to these companies, are you hiring our kids? Are you hiring our grandchildren to be in positions and stuff with these companies? Because if you're not, and I'm sowing seed into your company, all I'm doing is helping you continue to do the same. And you paying me a little dividend, pat me on the head, say, "Good job, boy. Send me some more of the money," And but by the way, your daughter don't qualify, even though she got a degree in whatever the hell it is you're talking about. So we have to think. Where do we put our money where it's going to be the best benefit for us? That goes us individually and as well as us collectively.
And I think
You know,
when you look at organizing investment clubs and so forth, the other thing is once you do your homework, you have to think critically. And critical thinking is what brought this subject about in the first place. Because I wasn't as familiar with the difference between single REIT homes versus the other REITs that I invest in either. And it makes perfect sense because, like you said, Gary, we're consumers. We spend 10 times more than any ethnicity on earth. Okay. So the power of our money is in collective consumption. When we put our money together and we decide, George, Gary, we're going to buy this because this is good for our pockets and it helps build wealth in the community. George, Gary, we're not going to buy this because this company doesn't hire black folk, doesn't put money back into the community. You had companies that have just ravaged our communities. Arabs have moved into Detroit and taken over the gas stations and the supermarkets and that sort of thing. And money's constantly going out. We don't see our dollars circulate anymore. And without any circulation of currency, our economy suffers.
yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, it's so important that we continue to invest in things that are going to, impact us. And one of the things you'll continue to hear me harp on is, black banks. Um, you know, seek out, black banks. And, for me, a lot of them are online, and it may not be as convenient for you to do business with them, or something. It may have to change your habits. But, just think about this. Okay. So if the minimum deposit, so that you don't get any fees, is $500, so why not put $500 in that bank and just let it sit there? Because of the fact that you may not see how it's helping you, but it's helping a lot of people. Because remember, when we talked about, banks can turn your dollar 10 times. So if people invest in black banks, now they're able to loan money out to black folks. I don't know if you have seen the influx of people contacting you about, do you need anything? Um, how's it going? You need any money? You need a loan? I get these. My credit score is 700 plus. So I get a lot. I mean, out of the blue, I get calls from people. I don't know if you're getting the same thing, but our listeners may be getting the same thing and figure, what the heck's going on? Well, remember what we talked about before? You got to know how money works. If banks aren't loaning out money, then they aren't making money. That's how they make money, is by loaning out your money. So they want depositors, and they want people borrowing money. So if you ain't borrowing money, they want to know why. So just like you get solicitations for buying everything else, yeah, I get solicitations for, you want some money? You come get this money, So hey, I mean, that's what's happening. Be aware. Keep them eyes on, open them eyes and see what's really happening out here.
Hey, George, you hit on some great points, man. I'm telling you, you got to keep your mind on your money and your money on your mind, as Snoop said years ago. And PC often requotes. But I want to go something that PC just said earlier about that circulation piece. I mean, think about this for a moment. Circulation, think about your bodies. The circulation, blood circulation in our bodies is just as critical to our life as capital circulation is to our financial life. You cut off the circulation, you die financially. The Fed has that power to increase circulation or decrease circulation. And if we find ourselves economically in a place where we're not able to control that circulation of capital, where are we moving our capital? That's why they call it cash flow and currency. Circulation goes right with that. So as we put our money into, George, you said it earlier, and I love it, that the money's got to turn. It's got to turn. So if we're going to spend it, let's spend it with each other. If we're going to borrow it and lend it, let's lend and borrow it with each other. That's all. It's easy to eliminate the banks. You always, the number man was the bank back in the day. Hey, man, you borrow $1, quarter on the dollar. Simple as that. Back then, they probably wasn't getting collateral because they knew where you lived. You know how that go. So you're going to pay back. You're going to pay the number man back. Well, no difference in the banks or our private lenders or what have you. We can do that same thing within ourselves. It's all about circulation. In every other ethnic neighborhood, their money, as we all know, circulates what? Anywhere from 8 to 12 times. It circulates from the person that earns the money to the barber, to the gardener, to the grocery store person, because we're doing business with each one of those. And they continue to circulate it. So we all know the process. All we got to do is do the execution.
It's all been said. George, we have to do our homework. Gary, we have to think critically, and then we got to look at how we're collectively and where we're collectively putting our money, so that our money can circulate in the communities in which we live. You don't buy outside of your go outside of your county to buy stuff. I don't necessarily want to go into the next city to have to buy food and groceries and that type of thing, because I don't get to see that money anymore. So these are 3 things that I hope our audience understands how critical it is to think critically about your money.
Yeah, I mean, that's the key. We're not saying throwing a lot of don'ts at you, but what we are saying here again is do your homework. Do your homework. That's all we're saying is eyes wide open, understand where you're putting your money, and making sure that money's coming back to you. That's all we're saying. So, crotchety old men, we're in one position, but we want you to be in the same position. We want you to be financially independent. We want you to be smart with your money. And that's all it's all about. It's just being smart with your money. Invest well, invest smartly. So, with that said, crotchety old men, I think we've kind of covered this topic. Who's got some words of wisdoms to lay on our audience? Who's going to do that?
Well, I'll go ahead and get it started. And keep it simple. The best investment you'll ever make is the space between your ears. Invest in that. Learn, read, and learn and read. That's the best investment you can make. Okay, so that's our quote for today. And look here, as we all say here at the Crotchety Old Men Podcast, if you didn't know,
now you know.
Peace.
All right.
Peace.